New York Attorney General Letitia James may have her eyes set on a brand new target. So this person did exactly what former President Donald Trump did by overvaluing his New York property. You would think that this would raise a lot of concern once again because James and Judge Arthur Engoron thought that Trump doing this was an offense that warranted a fine of almost $500 million. However, many people speculate that James won't do a thing about this guy who, by their own standards, broke the law. That's because we're talking about Jon Stewart, the same guy who blasted Donald Trump for doing exactly what he's also accused of being guilty of doing as well. But before we get into that, let's talk about another problem that New York has, and that's the issue of illegal immigrants coming in and sapping the local government of its resources. Not just that, but crime is going up as well. It has many lawmakers asking what's being done about this, because we all know that the Attorney General is in her position for one goal and one goal only. It's to make them a bit deaf as to what officials at the borders are saying. And to them, we're facing a national crisis. Now, before I share this next clip with you, all I ask is that you guys take 1 second, drop a quick like for the video. I totally appreciate that. And I want to thank you guys so much for sharing this video on social media. You guys are absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for doing that.
We're at, closing in on 1 million entries this fiscal year alone. That number is a large number, but what's keeping me up at night is the 140,000 known gotaways.
That is not part of that tally.
That is not part of that tally. If we don't know who is coming into our country and we don't know what their intent is, that is a threat, and they're exploiting a vulnerability that's on our border right now.
So he may be appointed by the Biden administration, but he's speaking, look out, he's giving a warning to the administration.
Yeah, ultimately, look, think about it this way. If you're ISIS, you want to attack the United States, you'd say, hey, we got to get 10 people in there to do an attack. Well, it's easy. Let's just send them across the southern border. We already traffic people for money. Let's just stick 10 of them in there with fake passports. These guys you can buy passports. There's like dozens of countries that you can buy a document that says you're so-and-so, and it's an official government document you bribe somebody for. Now you're inside of America. And it only took 4 people to do what they did in Moscow. We've had 9 million something people that have entered this country unlawfully and illegally. It only takes 4 to do this kind of carnage.
As you guys may know, Senator Rubio was talking about the attack in Russia. That's 4 people. The Border Patrol is talking about 140,000 known gotaways. That's an insanely high number when you take into consideration just how many people are needed for these terrible attacks. Now, of course, others have different theories when it comes to these things, but it doesn't take away the fact that our borders are unsafe. Just recently, House Speaker Mike Johnson, he spoke to Texas Governor Greg Abbott about the situation there. So Abbott told Johnson that the situation at the border is both unacceptable and unavoidable. The government is pushing for the House Speaker to do the right thing for America and pass border security legislation that would help to stop illegal crossings. He also talked about Operation Lone Star, and we all know that that's been successful because illegal immigrants have opted to enter the country through other states like Arizona and California because of the policies that Abbott have put in place. So the problem is, even though Johnson talked to Abbott about this national security concern, many are saying that he's leaning towards sending money to the Ukraine first. Johnson has essentially stonewalled funding for other countries if it doesn't involve funding for our borders. However, sources close to the speaker have also said that he understands the political tightrope that he's walking. If Johnson does decide to fund Ukraine before our borders, then his colleagues in the House might do something similar to what they did to former House Speaker Kevin McCarthy. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene has already filed a motion to vacate Johnson as Speaker and warned him not to put Ukraine funding on the House floor. Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky is basically asking why they're waiting so long for their money. He said that they've already wasted half a year and there's no more time to waste. The United States Congress has to approve the funding for Ukraine or risk having Russia win this war. Now, speaking of winning, let's now move on to former President Donald Trump, as he's hoping to raise quite a bit of money in Florida. So it's been said that wealthy GOP donors hope to come up with at least $33 million at a fundraiser for the former president, as he hopes to bridge the funding gap between him and President Biden. Now, it is worth noting that the event hasn't even happened and they've already raised that amount. This means that Trump's campaign is set to go over the $26 million that President Joe Biden raised in New York just recently. However, many expect that Trump won't be able to match what Biden's campaign is raising due to a number of reasons. One of which would be the legal troubles that Trump has faced for some time now. Troubles that actually seem to be doing more good than harm. Which leads me to talk about Jon Stewart. So Jon Stewart, he went on a tirade against the former president regarding this fraud case. He says that this is not a victimless crime, even though none of the banks reported anything to authorities and all of them were paid in full with interest. So Jon Stewart also threw insults at Shark Tank's Kevin O'Leary, as he said that what Trump did was actually common within the investment community. He added that this isn't giving investors a very good picture of New York, because why would they bring their business to a place that would charge them $500 million for something that seems to be common practice? However, a recent report shows that Donald Trump and Jon Stewart have something in common. So back in 2014, the TV personality was reported to have sold a home in New York for $17.5 million, theoretically overvaluing his property by 829%. Many critics were quick to point out the hypocrisy of Jon Stewart as he went on Twitter or X to respond.
How is he not this mad about overvaluations in the real world? Because they are not victimless crimes.
Now, I'm not sure if I can show you what he posted, but just to make it clear, he was pretty smug about it. He says that he's been caught doing something not remotely similar to Trump, even though we all know that is exactly the opposite. He then went on to reference other cases that the former president is involved in and didn't include the fraud case of which he would probably be guilty of. And no, he did not deny that he overvalued his property and made millions of dollars off of it. This led to Trump's lawyer, Alina Habba, asking what's going to be done by AG Letitia James, because there's a ton of people on X saying that Jon Stewart victimized whoever bought his property back then, which would mean that this isn't a victimless case. Alina Habba is now looking for James and asked if Jon Stewart would be investigated for the next 3 years. She then said James's catchphrase that no one is above the law.
I want to see what they do with it. Is he going to be investigated for 3 years? Where are you, Tish?
Yeah.
Where are you at?
Yeah.
You're going to go after your own? No one is above the law.
Yeah.
Show me.
Yep. Exactly.
Show me.
And by the way, we can help her. If Letitia James is watching.
That clip should be used in her case against him. By the way, let me
100%.
help you, Letitia.
Yeah.
You should play that video. I'm sure you'll be allowed to play videos. I'm not, but you will. You know, let's see it happen.
Yeah.
Let's see. No one is above the law.
Now, many analysts are already expecting that a whole lot of nothing's going to be done to Jon Stewart because he's one of them, which would only prove the accusations and charges against Donald Trump were solely because his name is going to be on the ballot for 2024's presidential elections. But what do you guys think about all this? Now, as far as I'm concerned, I'm going to keep doing what you guys need me to do, and that is to keep you guys informed every single day. Now, before I go, I just want to thank you guys for your time. Thanks for hitting the like button. Thank you for sharing this video, and I'll see you on the next one.